Assalamu alaikum everybody. I hope all of you are doing well amidst a pandemic. So, I am back with the top 5 news headlines for the day. First thing to note is that the Prime Minister of Pakistan, of course Imran Khan, has imposed a total lockdown in the country. That is not to say that we will not be going ahead with our smart lockdowns, but to say that they're going to be more frequent and more fervently imposed in coronavirus hotspots, including Lahore, Multan, Gujranwala, Karachi, usually and mostly in the provincial capitals as well. And this is again not to say that we're going to completely shut down industries. In fact, we're going ahead with open industries, just that we will be following the SOPs and monitoring people who do not and fining them or penalizing those who are not following these standard operating procedures, because we know and we take into account the fact that most of the people in Pakistan are daily wagers. That means that they earn on a daily basis. Their pay for the day is what keeps them going and what keeps their house going. This is their livelihood. And if their small scale businesses close down, that's it. And rightly put by the Prime Minister, while saving the people or the citizens' rights with a lockdown, we do not want people to die of hunger. And so we need to take this into account and say, yes, this was a smart and well thought out initiative by the Prime Minister and the Cabinet, as well as all those involved in suggesting and implementing small scale lockdowns while keeping into account the necessary steps taken and needed to be taken for opening the industries and keeping the industries open with the SOPs. That is, wearing a mask, sanitizing hands, and so on. Second thing to note is that the UAE has suspended the visit visas to 13 different countries, and I had previously mentioned this in, I believe, the first video in this series of top 5 news headlines. And really now we have a definite reason for why they did this, though the UAE has not expanded on it. So we know it's because of national security threats. And interestingly, most of the people who have their visit visa suspended are from Muslim countries. That is Tunisia, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Yemen, Somalia, all of these places, Lebanon, Libya, and of course of Pakistan as well. And as I mentioned, Afghanistan. They've also, mostly, these countries have been affected adversely by terrorist organizations. And that possibly plays a role in why we have our citizens' visit visas suspended. And this can adversely affect our economy, because we know that remittances are highly valued by our economy in Pakistan. And remittances are, in essence, basically money sent by fellow citizens. In terms of Pakistan, I'd say Pakistanis who are living in foreign countries and working there and sending back the money to their home country, that is, for this case, Pakistan. And when we have a lot of people from Pakistan having gone to the UAE and working there and making a living there, really this can be jeopardizing the probability of people staying there and sending back remittances, because now family members from Pakistan cannot go and visit their fellow members of family in UAE. And that means they're most probably going to be coming back from the UAE to stay with their families, and that really puts Pakistani economy at stake, and that could probably lead to tension in bilateral ties with the UAE. Third of all, we have about 14 out of 44 fire tenders out of job. They're not on job in Karachi, that is, and a 2-judge bench has been set up headed by Justice Mohammed Ali Mazhar, and they are going to be demanding a report on industries and buildings who are not following preventative measures for fires in these industries and buildings. And this report is to be, as I said, presented on the 8th of December. So, keeping this in mind, I feel like amidst a pandemic, this is very crucial, especially when we have about 30 vehicles used by these fire tenders out of order right now. They just can't be used right now or utilized right now. And that, as I've said, amidst a pandemic is very dangerous because we just do not need another reason for our citizens to die. Therefore, I would like all of you to recall the incident of short circuiting in the Hafiz Center in Lahore, and that was disastrous. I mean, till now, the front face of Hafiz Center is charred, literally, and we have people without any place to sell their things because most of them also did not have an insurance for their shops. And so we have people coming with their vehicles outside of Hafiz Center and then selling their products from there. So, that being said, I feel like quoting that incident should give you a sense of urgency when it comes to fixing these sort of organizations and institutes which are supposed to counter these fires, which are supposed to tend to these fires, and it's very important to have all people working, and this will also increase employment because we cannot have about 14 people in as big of an industrialized city as Karachi when we have so many things which can go wrong. And we just do not need more deaths right now. And so we need to have this report coming in to the Sindh High Court and this bench that has been set out observing and really giving a close look at what the situation is and accordingly acting on increasing the number of people who tend to these fires and fixing up the vehicles we need for people to arrive at places where we have the fires. And so I will leave you on this particular issue at that. So, fourth of all, we have Salim Mandviwala, who is the deputy chairman of the Senate, allegedly by the NAB labeled as an accomplice in the current accounts case that we have. It is a corruption case against the so-called leaders, supremo leaders of opposition parties. And this deputy chairman of the Senate has now attempted to pass a motion against NAB chief Javed Iqbal, against deputy or rather DG NAB in Rawalpindi Irfan Naeem, as well as the investigating officer, the registrar, as well as the deputy registrar for securities and Exchange Commission of Pakistan. And really what our deputy Senate chairman has said is that he's not part of this case and he's not supposed to be involved, so why is the NAB after him? And so this motion is attempting to be passed, not passed yet, and so we just look on as spectators to where this specific case goes. And moving on to the last news of the day, the last headline for the day, if you will, we have about 25% of Pakistani population facing some kind of mental illness. And we've seen suicide rates shoot up, especially during this pandemic, because people are under stress, whether it's in school, whether it's in the work that they are doing, and especially we've noticed a lot of news come up on farmers committing suicide. And so What is very devastating is the fact that though the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan reported about 90% of those suicides were because of mental illnesses, people, especially families in Pakistan, most of them do not even recognize depression as a mental illness or an illness at all, rather. And so that really jeopardizes the chances of people surviving a suicide attempt. It makes the suicide attempt more successful if people and families, particularly, do not recognize depression as something which needs to be tended to. So, keeping this in mind, I feel like I wanted to end on such a note as this. We need to keep prioritizing emotional health. It's very important. It's as important, if not more important, than your physical health. I feel like we should have an integrated, phone line which enables, especially teenagers, in any sort of circumstance, if you are letting something bad happen or letting something get to a point where it's going to be deadly, fatal, or just generally bad for the person and you know it, and if you do not report, if you do not try to help in any sort of way you can, you are at fault then. That is something I know for sure. Then you are at fault. You need to try to help. Whether it's through your hand, whether it's through your tongue, whether it's through social media. Any way you can. You physically stop it, you verbally stop it, you go on non-physical space and you talk about it. Any way you can, you have to curb the illness. And some people say, what can I do? Well, we are the future. We are the youth of Pakistan. If we don't understand what other people are facing, if we do not have the key quality of empathy, how are we supposed to lead this country to a better tomorrow? How? Because this world needs to work on account of feelings that others possess, on taking into account that others may be adversely affected by certain decisions that we take. And this should be going from a school boy and girls level to the Prime Minister and President. This is a message for all. And we all, as a nation, should adhere to it. I will end here. Inshallah, I will see you next time, tomorrow. And till then, I will say, see you later and Allah Hafiz.